Welcome. My name is Matt Goswell, Technical Product Marketing Manager for Data Warehousing. And today we're going to be showing you a scenario around retail fraud analysis using Azure SQL Data Warehouse and SQL Server 2016 reporting services.
And I'm Sanjay Soni. I'm Technical Product Marketing Manager for Power BI and SQL BI, and we are excited to be here.
Indeed we are. Thank you, Sanjay. So what we're going to show you today is around our capabilities for cloud, our data warehousing abilities in the cloud, on-premise, our reporting services and database capabilities, analysis services capabilities on-premise, and how we bring all this data together, not just from a query perspective, but also visualize this data no matter where your data may be or you may be in the world. So Sanjay, what are we going to see?
We're going to experience an end-to-end demo scenario using Azure SQL Data Warehouse, reporting services, analysis services, mobile reporting, all in one demo.
Wow.
So let's get started.
Let's get started. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to create an Azure SQL Data Warehouse literally in a few clicks so we can start analyzing our retail fraud data. And so simply in the Azure portal, I click my Add button, I choose Data and Storage, and then I select Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And here you can see a lot of the details filled in. All I need to do is provide the name for my data warehouse, and I'm going to call this one DW Demo for the purposes of the example. And I'm going to select a server, and one of the servers that we built earlier on, I'm just going to select this one for quick deployment. And I'm going to draw your attention to the slider. This slider is effectively the performance and the compute available to my data warehouse. And I can choose to set this to the bare minimum, or I can set it to a maximum, or anywhere in between. And the nice thing about our elastic scale service is that we can scale this service dynamically whenever we need to, any time of day or night. And we can do this either through our Azure portal, or we can do this using command line interface and PowerShell commands. And so very quickly, I'm just going to go and create this data warehouse. And as you can see, with a few clicks, a SQL data warehouse is underway. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to jump to a fraud instance that we created earlier on. And so this is the blade for Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And what we're looking at here is an overview of our data warehouse configuration. We can see some configuration buttons across the top. We can see some information down the right-hand side, and we can see query activity and usage statistics in the middle pane. And so what I'm going to draw your attention to for the moment is on the right-hand side, some of the options that we've got in Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And so the first I want to draw your attention to is transparent data encryption, or TDE. And what this provides is encryption of my data at rest in my data warehouse. And for any data warehouse where you have data that is either sensitive or certainly should not be exposed by nature, encryption is key to securing that data. And so we have turned on transparent data encryption in our fraud data warehouse. But we also have some other nice features around auditing and threat detection. And so this is auditing really at an event level inside SQL Server, inside Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And we can see here that we're capturing the regular SQL statements, we're capturing procedures, we're capturing logins, and we're capturing transaction approaches and management. But under threat detection, we're also able to delve into levels such as SQL injection, looking at the vulnerability options and looking at the logins from different locations and to see whether or not a user has logged in using the same account but from two completely different geographies, and also understanding what a user's pattern or usage pattern would be inside our data warehouse. Is it out of the norm? Are we seeing data being selected or queried which is not part of our usual workload? All of this kind of information can be extracted from our data warehouse through our auditing and threat detection approaches. We covered off scale earlier on around elastic scale, but here we've got a data warehouse which has already been created. Earlier on, we showed the scale being set when we created that data warehouse. Here you can see very quickly, my data warehouse is running. All I have to do is select a different level of compute power for my data warehouse, click Save, and then that compute power setting has been applied to my data warehouse, meaning not only do I take the benefits of the reduced cost, but also I may not need to have the workload executing for that full period of time, in which case I can actually go and click my pause button, in which case that will stop the compute from running and I will not be charged at all for any compute resources in my data warehouse. So a fantastic approach by Microsoft in introducing the world's first elastic-scale data warehouse service in Microsoft Azure. However, what we're actually going to do now is dive into the visualization. And to do that, we have a very integrated experience here within Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And these buttons that we're showing across the top, we can very quickly visualize data inside Visual Studio. And here, by switching to Visual Studio, I can execute a query across my data, and you can see that I've selected the top 10 rows from my transaction table, all at the click of a button. And if I navigate back and open in Power BI, I click this button, and you can see straight away that Power BI is integrated directly within Azure SQL Data Warehouse. All of my connection string properties have been provided to Power BI. All I have to do is provide my password. I click Sign In, and straight away, Power BI has connected to Azure SQL Data Warehouse and is importing my data, ready for me to visualize and explore my data in new ways, which I previously could not do by using a regular data warehouse approach. And so I'm quickly going to jump to one of my reports around fraud. And we can see that my data in Azure SQL Data Warehouse is actually showing me an alarming condition. And if we look at the number of returns over a year period from last year to my current year, we're actually seeing an increase of nearly treble the amount of returns for a region, North and Central America. If I delve into this further and go and actually look at my store, you can see that my top store is a Miami store. Okay, so this is actually given me a geography where I can actually start going and looking at. So what I want to do is I want to take my object and I want to pin this to a common dashboard, to my single pane of glass, where I have my insight in one place. And so let's jump to my dashboard. Hey, we got it. This is my return quantity object, which I've just pinned from my fraud report into my dashboard. And here I now have a single perspective of my profitability and my returns and my campaign management, etc., all in one place. But actually, I can see in this dashboard that I've got a lot more data here. And so I'm actually going to pass over to Sanjay to understand exactly what this data is and how we can delve deeper into it. Sanjay.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, there's lots of information on this dashboard. For example, as a campaign marketing manager, I can see performance of my campaigns, my email campaigns versus social campaigns, and what are people saying about the company or internet. For example, in terms of positive sentiment, people are talking about cocktail with friends, get sporty, entertainment. In terms of negative sentiment, they're talking about too much effort. But this demo is about fraud detection. So on this dashboard, you also notice it's an interesting visual right here, revenue and profit trend. Guess what? This actually is coming from reporting services. So we just go behind the scenes on this one and investigate what is happening in my Miami store. As you can see, my sales have been increasing. These are all reporting services visuals you're seeing in this right here. My returns have been increasing, sales have been increasing. But then you also notice that profit margin has been decreasing lately. Maybe it has something to do with the returns. So why don't we investigate this further using the R integration now that we have this in SQL Server 2016. So let's go to the store anomalies R chart report right here. As you can notice here, that there is some unusual transactions happening that start in twos, $2, $20, something like that. And after further investigation using Benford's law, we found out that on terminal point of sale, terminal 3, there was some unusual activity happening. Basically, the story is the returns were happening, returns were taken by the store folks, but then the items were never returned back to the store for sale to the future customers. So these were being stolen from the warehouse itself. So this can happen. What we just saw was just one aspect of reporting services. In SQL Server 2016, we have KPIs, mobile reports, and paginated reports. So now let's take a look at one of the mobile reports. Look at this. Intuitive, beautiful visualizations. I can easily navigate. I can filter all of my content easily, and it's all optimally designed for touch. By the way, I can view the same report on my tablet or a mobile device as well. In fact, we're going to build something from scratch. So now I'm showing you SQL Server Mobile Report Publisher, and we're going to create a new mobile report in the next 2 minutes. So here we go, an existing report. Let's create a new phone report just by dragging and dropping these things. For example, the time navigator here. Here we go. We have this KPI here. Let's take a look at the gauge chart, a thermometer right there. And then here's my tree view. And let's preview the report. See how simple it is. But now, to prove all this, let's take a look at this one on an iPhone. Now, I'm on an iPhone, and I can see my KPIs, and I can also see my mobile reports. Let's take a look at one of the mobile reports we created before. So I'm holding this phone, and I can see for last quarter what kind of sales we had and written amount and good stuff. But then if I tilt the phone, I can see in my landscape view much more information. I can click on 2015. What kind of sales are we having? We can touch the seamless experience you can have by touching here. And you can literally see all that information in one report at your fingertips.
And so there you have it. We've just shown you the end-to-end demo scenario for retail fraud analysis using Azure SQL Data Warehouse and SQL Server 2016 reporting services. And Sanjay showed you the iPhone. Using the iPhone to browse his reports in SQL Server reporting services, I'm showing you a tablet doing exactly the same with that rich, visual, interactive experience where I'm able to drill into my data using touch, the power of touch, regardless of where I am and where my data is. Thank you.
Yes, folks. So please go ahead and try Azure SQL Data Warehouse, SQL BI reporting services part of 2016 SQL Server, and mobile BI along with Power BI. Thank you.
Thank you.